NewsNation contributor, former White House press secretary, and Republican strategist Sean Spicer is here live. Okay, Sean, fifth investigation that he's facing during the time of his campaigning for president. Do you think it bumps up his approvability, likability among voters?
I do, and I'll tell you why, Adrienne. I think over and over again, these guys, so-called jump the shark. When you engaged in this case and they valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, and a simple Zillow search showed how ridiculous that was. They showed that they were more out to get Trump than they were to seek justice. So I think we saw this with the Alvin Bragg case that kicked all of this off there in New York, and then we've seen it down in Georgia using the RICO statutes, that time and time again they go a little too far, and it rallies people around President Trump and his cause by saying that it looks like they're out to get him and weaponize the judicial system. They didn't have to do this. I mean, I don't know the extent of all of the aspects of the case, but the simple fact that they undervalued so many of these properties, trying to make the case that he was overvaluing them, just shows that they really weren't actually seeking the truth. And this is the problem, is that I don't know enough, but I'll tell you that there seems to be enough there that they could have. Right. And to say, if you can go on Zillow and say a small parcel costs more than $18 million in Palm Beach, and I think anecdotally I've heard enough stories of people selling their properties down there, and to tell me that a property that spans both sides from the intercoastal to the Atlantic Ocean with multiple rooms and da-da-da-da, I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, it seems, again, the math, $18 million from Mar-a-Lago. Forbes magazine listed the property at $350 million in 2022. I mean, does that point to a game being played here? Are voters buying it?
Well, and that's the thing, is that, I think that these folks on the left, whether it's Alvin Bragg in New York who kicked it off or Letitia James now in New York, I feel like they all want to get in on the action. They want to prove to their base that they're willing to do what it takes to get Trump. I mean, I've got Alan Dershowitz on my podcast today. He literally wrote a book called Get Trump, and he's a Democrat. I'm going to be asking him about this because it seems like too often the left wants to go after Trump, and they're willing to just sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater when maybe there was a way to do it without going as far as they did. But as soon as they do things like this, they rally people who might normally not be with Trump to his side. And I think that's the thing, is that right now the average person looks online and sees these posts where people are sending Zillow shots and property record shots of properties, a fraction of the size as you put it. The math doesn't add up.
Yeah, compared to his 124-bedroom estate that's also a private club. Letitia James, she's been a long time targeting President Trump. She campaigned under this pledge to shine a, quote, bright light into every dark corner of his real estate dealings. She sued him in the past, shutting down his Trump Foundation. What should be the difference to American voters? Democrat or Republican, you love or you hate Trump. What should be the difference between true accountability and a witch hunt?
Well, I think you're asking the quintessential question, which is, you might not like Trump right now, but if the government can go after somebody and do this to them, both civilly and criminally, ruin them, then what about you? Trump at least has the resources, the ability to pay for lawyers, et cetera, et cetera. But I've told people this all along. When you get caught up in one of these webs, these lawsuits, the lawyer bills just add up. And at a certain point, some people just say uncle. And so just stop for a moment and think to yourself, if you may not like Trump, you may be disgusted by Trump, but the fact of the matter is that he has the resources to at least deal with this. If they go after him and win, what stops them from going after the next business person and making them cave to their will?
I think there are business people who can put themselves in those shoes. I don't know if the everyday American is thinking that. I think a lot of people are skeptical because they see President Trump as somebody who's exaggerated a lot of things over the years. But the sad truth is there are a lot of news outlets that won't even report on the discrepancies in numbers in this case because they just don't. I want one quick question before we let you go, Sean. You've worked with him. You know him. Obviously, him showing up in person is a big deal. He's doing this voluntarily. He doesn't usually show up. Does that speak to the gravity of this case for him personally? And do you think he will lose everything he's worked his whole life for? Or do you think that the judge will actually appoint some sort of executor over those businesses? He just won't be able to work with the businesses directly in New York State.
Yeah, both great questions. I think number one, he's showing up to call attention to it because, to your point, the lack of coverage on this from most mainstream legacy outlets is unbelievable. And I think by him showing up, he almost guarantees coverage. So there's a strategy behind that. It calls attention to it. Secondly, to your point, look, I don't know where this ultimately ends up. The reason I say that is I was talking to some lawyers about a case a few months back, and I was making the case that as a non-lawyer, some of this didn't make sense to me. And they said in the era of Trump, it's almost like the law has been thrown out. And a lot of these folks don't mind as long as it, quote, gets Trump, as I said. They're willing to do it. And so I think that the scary part is if you'd asked me this question 5 years ago, I would say there's no way that this case moves forward, even as a non-lawyer. But now, under the era of Trump, I just don't know anymore. I don't know where it ultimately ends up. As I said, I'm going to be asking Alan Dershowitz on my podcast today because I want to know from a legal perspective, not just what the short term, but will he be able to appeal this?
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.